So yeah, so this is a rare loot. Yeah, this is a membership bottle from the Shelter Point Distillery. So basically, how it works is you can subscribe. Um, saw a bottle in old Davy Jones locker. Basically, you can get a yearly subscription to that's yearly membership to Shelter Point's Whiskey Club. And basically, what that entitles to you is you get a couple Glens with Shelter Point on them. I don't have that one in particular. You get a pin, you get a Shelter Point pin. You get admission to their distillery for tours and such. And 3 times a year, you're given a half bottle of a club exclusive whiskey that is bottled at cask strength. So the only way to get this whiskey is to be a club member and have it be one of the ones they send you. This is the second release. I assume after this is all gone, there won't be any more. So you can't buy this. It only is available, as far as I understand, to club exclusive members. So this is not a whiskey you'll be able to buy. Um, so that's kind of interesting. And it comes with this little kind of sheet because obviously this is like just a plain whiskey club bottle that says cask strength, and then they have it written here, release number 2. So it doesn't even tell you what it is. It just says release 2, 59.5% alcohol. That's all it says on here. So it kind of comes with this this kind of little pamphlet. And this says Shelter Point Whiskey Club release number 2, Seaweed and Peat, 59.5% ABV. This was distilled in 2017. It was rebarreled in 2020, and it was bottled in October 2024. So that would make it roughly 7 years old. So basically, the deets on this is this is a whiskey finished in a first fill barrel, smoked with seaweed and local peat. So this barrel was smoked in 2020 with a combination of seaweed from the shores of the Shelter Point Farm and local island peat. So this is a distillery in Vancouver Island. Um, and then the barrel was then filled with a select vatting of whiskeys aged in bourbon first fill casks. So this was aged 3 years in first fill ex bourbon, and then 4 years in this. I'm assuming it says. I'm assuming it's a bourbon barrel that was then smoked with local island peat and seaweed. So the second barrel is smoked with local island peat and seaweed, and then 4 years in that barrel. And this in particular is a unmalted farm barley 50 mash bill with 100% BC grown single malt whiskeys. So this is, from what it's reading here, half of this comes from Shelter Point's own farm, the barley, and half of it comes from barley that was sourced from British Columbia. So the whole bottle comes from British Columbia, basically everything in here. So it's terroir in that way. So that is basically what's in here. The rest talks about notes, so we won't get into notes. Want to experience our own notes firsthand. Have you drank something with seaweed like this before? Not with seaweed, but Shelter Point does have a regular release. This is one of their regular release whiskeys. This is the Shelter Point Smoke Point, which we've talked about a whole bunch of times because I think it's a great whiskey. But this is basically very similar. So it's, again, initially in a first fill ex bourbon barrel. And then this one is finished in a barrel that was smoked with driftwood. So driftwood from the shores of Vancouver Island was burned to smoke the barrel that this one was finished in. So this one is a little different. It's not, the barrel is not driftwood smoked, it's smoked with peat and seaweed. So this one, real at first, was very salty, very briny. But kind of as more air got in here and as we kind of like experience the change in it, it's not nearly as salty. I'm going to get the feeling right off the rip this is going to be really salty. But I'm also not sure what the peat impact is going to be because it's again it's a little bit different than a peated whiskey. So when we think about peated scotch, for example, these are whiskeys that the barley itself before it's distilled during the malting process is smoked with peat. That's a little bit of a different animal compared to aging whiskey in a barrel that was smoked with peat. So we'll see kind of how much of that peat character translates through the barrel aging process rather than the actual malt prior to distillation being the thing that was smoked. And again, seaweed is a wild card. Who knows? Who knows with seaweed? Um, but yeah, this is again as far as whiskeys go, this is basically unobtainium. Even if you subscribe to the club today, I don't know that you'll get this. You might get something else. Um, I don't know where they are in their release cycle. Uh, so like that, it will be a wild experience. And of course, it's at cask strength, so it's going to be right up there, firing on all cylinders. And it's just a little bottle, but that's fine. You know, we don't drink things too quickly anyway. Like this one, like it's just down below the shoulder, and we've had this for a while, right? So I'm not even really worried about it being a little bottle, but they'll get you drunk with some hair on your chest. That was a righteous pop, though. I'll fucking tell you that. Goaded. Now, Shelter Point's basic distillate is very fruity, very spicy. Has kind of like a graham cracker, kind of like um, a honeycomb cereal kind of note. So we kind of can expect some of that in here too. Let's see if the light even does anything for this cask strength guy. Oh, a little bit. All right, so here's the color of it, natural color. So again, 7 years in a mix of first fill, ex bourbon, and first fill seaweed and peat smoked barrel at cask strength. So again, this is quite dark, but did not think that was natural. Everything at a Shelter Point's natural color. So you can even see, as we love when they do this on the label, no chill filtration, no added color. Everything, as far as I know from Shelter Point, is like this. There's no, um, it's an authentic presentation, I suppose. But yeah, natural color for this. Um, Again, one thing to remember is at cask strength, right? So a lot of times we look at whiskeys this color and they're like 40 or 43% alcohol, and you're like, well, there's no way that's natural at 43% alcohol. But it might have been natural if they poured it for you at cask strength. So yeah, cask strength here. And we're just going to let that kind of chill out for a minute. This is a fresh cracked bottle at 59.5% alcohol. So we're not going to like rush it too much. We'll give it a solid minute to kind of like acclimate, remove the bottle shock, if you will. Um, I'll tell you the legs on this one are very thin. Looks thick. They're very thin legs. And they're definitely taking their time there. Um, and just to be clear, when we're talking about legs, we're talking about like when we roll this glass, um, we're coating the outside with whiskey, and just as that whiskey kind of like comes down around the sides of the glass, it'll form these little lines. I don't know how well you can see them on the camera, but you can see these lines that form from the liquid. And basically, the thinner those lines are and the slower moving those lines are, indicate how thick you can expect the whiskey to be. So some very thin, pronounced lines there. All right. See if we get some of that Shelter Point graham cracker. Hmm. It's definitely Shelter Point. You definitely get like that Shelter Point distillery character out of this. Um, there's a couple of things happening, but it's not salty though, which is surprising. I really thought this would be really salty. There is that kind of like a sweet graham cracker sort of note. There's also like a lighter fruit notes, like you kind of expect, like that apple pear kind of lighter fruit character. Put your ear up and see if you can hear the ocean. I can. Oh my God, Poseidon is calling. There he's saying play Final Fantasy. Holy fuck. There is a nice cinnamon spice on this though. A little bit of apple, a little bit of cinnamon spice. It's kind of hitting um, like a nice spiced apple pie with like a graham cracker crust. What's missing here? Um, Seaweed and Peat characters. Right now, this is kind of like um, so. I have another bottle, which is kind of similar. So this is the regular Shelter Point cask strength. Um, and basically, this one is a little less alcohol percentage, but the way this is nosing to me right now is like a souped up version of this one. It's not like hitting me like there's a seaweed peat thing going on, and we'll probably find something on the palate. That's my guess. But on the nose, it's like this bottle except richer, and like a nicer, richer spice, a nicer, richer sweetness. Um, and really, it shouldn't be too much different, I would think, than this particular bottle. But maybe this is a really good barrel, a really good vatting, a special barrel that was selected that was exceptionally good. But right now, the like peat and seaweed elements are missing for me. I don't really get anything, if I'm going to be honest. But it is so rich, apple pie, graham cracker. Um, smells delicious, frankly. All right. So, Shelter Point, Seaweed and Peat Cask Strength, club exclusive on the palate. Cheers. I found the salt. I found the salty part. Ooh, that's different. Um, so it's still with me. This is a long finish. So right on the attack, right on the entry, as a liquid hits your tongue, it's the same kind of as the nose would suggest. It's very like sweet apple pie, apple spices, a little bit of like that graham cracker kind of malty character, and then like this it's like, okay, so you have this apple pie, okay, and then you like, I don't know, dunk it in seawater. All of a sudden, like kind of as you hold it on your tongue, you kind of get like these waves of like a salty briny note. It's like very salty character starts to like swell on your tongue until it's kind of like slightly vegetal but very salty. And then into the finish, it's like very similar. It's kind of got like a slight earthiness, a little bit of that like apple and spice character. But then you kind of have like a growing like vegetal character in the background, and this is all like very salty, like from like mid palate to the end of the finish, very briny, kind of quite salty. Um, you're still getting some of those like interesting apple sweet spice characters, um, but it's like all coated in like a very like sea salt sea spray kind of flavor, with just a little bit of vegetal note. Like it's very small and just a little bit of like earthy note, very small. So it's not like big on the peat or big on the like seaweed, but it is big on the salt. That being said, this was also true of this bottle here and a neck pour. Neck poured this Shelter Point Smoke Point. It was very briny. It was even briny on the nose. This one wasn't briny on the nose, but it's so salty, we'll say, near the back of the mid palate all the way to the end of the finish. Um, so that being said, it's a little bit additive. That means it does drown out a little bit the like um, basic malt components like the spice and the fruit, um, the graham cracker. They're kind of like a little bit underneath the salt. Um, but they're still present, so it's still additive. But oh man, I'm interested to see how this will actually develop. Um, it's kind of a wild ride. We go back to the nose, and it's so bright and tropical fruit. It's so spicy graham cracker. It's still hitting that like fresh open bag of honeycomb cereal. Like it's actually so wild that for me, the palate and finish are so salty, and that sea salt is like not there at all on the nose for me. It doesn't exist. It's a tricksy one. This would fool you in a blind, I think, right on the nose. You would be nosing this and be like, this is like Shelter Point cask strength. And then you take a sip, and then it's like it's like salt water and fruit. I do think this is a very good barrel in particular, though, because I think I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing this all comes from one cask. Maybe it's a set of casks. I don't know if it's a vatting. Is it a vatting? Where's that thing gone off to? This is a vatting. Okay, so it's not a single barrel. But at least this particular vatting seems to have some very high quality basic malts in it too. Because just the malty, the components of the aroma that are just plain Jane Shelter Point, I feel like are so much more rich and robust in this particular bottle. But man, it's so wild to me that there's no kind of trace of that finishing barrel on the nose. Have it be so present on the palate. Very intense and flavorful. Obviously not hunting anywhere for flavor on this. Not as briny on the second sip, but you still get kind of a little bit of that salt, that like slight earthiness, that slight vegetal character is hanging around that salt, and that's kind of over top of like all of the other notes that we talk about on the aroma. That being said, it's not doing anything wild and crazy. Kind of like the only thing that's wild and crazy about it is that the seaweed and peat characters don't seem to be on the aroma at all for me, and that might change as the bottle opens. That being said, kind of like what you knows is what you get, plus some peat, salt, and vegetation notes. It's not doing anything. It's not changing on me like sip to sip too much. Um, it's not changing on me too much on the aroma. It's kind of like the same. So it's not doing that crazy like emergent flavor thing. But it's quite delicious. If only because like the basic shelter point characteristics are so well represented in this particular whiskey. Um, and then you have like an added layer of that kind of like salty, peaty, vegetal kind of aspects. Also, finish again is quite long. Stays with you for quite a while. Mostly in the like kind of slightly earthy, slightly vegetal, briny characteristics. Maybe a little bit of malt lingers some too. But I'm not getting any like some of the crazier notes that we got at that one day we noticed the smoke point, where like you were getting some like smoky characters, some like maple bacon, like protein, um, kind of strange emergent kind of notes. It's not kind of doing that for me, but the notes that are present are so intense. Um, this is for me just like it's like it's just like a souped up cask strength with some added elements. That's what it feels like, which is phenomenal. But again, not really any development from this point. I think if you were coming at this really hoping it would be like really like Isla Peaty, um, or some kind of crazy seaweed note out of this, definitely doesn't deliver on those things. And again, this is something that we roughly know about smoky barrels, and I kind of like lax a little bit on this one, and maybe some again air, some time open. We'll develop this little bottle, but again, most of these finishing barrel peats, these smoked finishing barrels, do not provide the same level of impact as like peated malt does. It's not like overwhelmingly peaty or overwhelmingly smoky. I don't even really get a smoke to this personally right now. Um, like you might be able to argue with like, hey, some of these earthy notes are kind of close to like a charcoal, but nothing is hitting me like campfire smoke on this bottle right now. But again, I said that also about the smoke point, and then after like 4 or 5 months when we opened it again, the smoke started to appear. So um, I'm excited really for some development with this whiskey. The crazy part is by the time this develops, it will be almost gone. If we take like 2 more drams out of this, it might develop really well, but then we'll only have like a quarter of a bottle to drink. That being said, still really damn good. I think it's like head and shoulders better than this cask strength bottle. It's like just better almost in every way against this cask strength bottle. It's all the flavors that are in the cask strength bottle. It's like richer than all of those flavors on top of that little bit of like extra. So in that way, can't be disappointed. And I'm definitely interested in what they're going to send me next because they send you three of these bottles every year. So I don't know what the cycle is, but man, definitely interested in what they'll send me next. Hopefully it's great, and we'll subscribe for another year.